Hi everyone, my name's Andrew Bibby from Proximo 3, and we're here with Conor Doyle from DQ Global, one of our partners, and we're going to talk about data quality and unlocking the full potential of your Dynamics 365 and Power Platform customer data. So a little bit about Proximo 3, we are a Microsoft partner based in the UK, founded in 2020. Our senior leadership team is all Microsoft MVPs, and we have a lot of experience working with Dynamics 365 and the Power Platform. Between us, over 40 years of experience. And so we provide consultancy on Dynamics 365 and Power Platform, and also training, particularly Microsoft courses, and recruitment for other partners and other organizations that are looking to recruit people in those areas into their teams. We've been working with DQ Global for a few years. I've known them for a very long time, and we've been working with them on different projects around data quality for various customers over the years. And so I'm going to hand over to Conor to introduce DQ Global and what they do.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Today we're going to be looking at unlocking the full potential of your customer data. And what we're going to be looking at today are a few different agenda points. So we're going to be looking at understanding the significance of data quality in driving business success. We're going to be looking at where you are on your data quality journey, because every organization is going to be on a different level, and we'll discuss more about that later. Obviously, we want to put that into a real world context. It's all good theoretically, but we actually want to see how that actually fits into the real world, and actually how you can start your own data quality roadmap to advance your organization's customer data. And obviously, we'll look at any questions that anyone might have at the end of the presentation. So, who are DQ Global? Well, we are a data management company helping organizations to achieve more with their customer data. And often we're working with IT, sales, or marketing professionals who are concerned with the quality of their data. Often they are frustrated around the time it takes to overcome data quality challenges. They're overwhelmed by GDPR compliance or regulation that's come in fairly recently. Or they are concerned that they've spent so much money implementing these business applications, so much time implementing these business applications, only to be let down by the data flowing within their organizations. And we'll touch more on that later. So data quality is not that easy. So it's difficult to manage it in complex environments. And there's really a bit of a data quality delusion that we're looking at. Everyone understands the importance of data quality. Everyone cares about data quality, right? And everyone knows what actions to take to improve data quality. Well, we don't necessarily think that's the case. And there's a lot of organizations we speak to. So, a bit of a play here on Simpson's meme, but, we look it in the mirror, and actually what we see in the mirror is different to what we actually see, what is actually the reality. So it's really about waking up to the importance of data quality, and hopefully that's what we're going to be discussing today and raising awareness. So we have this leaning tower of data. So to go into a little bit more detail, we've got a foundation of data running across our organization. That might be transactional data. That might be customer data, which is what we're speaking about today. But that is the foundation. And on top of that, we're going to be building, knowledge, information, wisdom. And as we go up that tree, we build our app data, we build our CRM data, reports, dashboards, where we get to kind of the holy grail that everyone's speaking about now, which is machine learning and AI. And if we start with a broken foundation, we're going to get what we call a distortion from the truth, which is then going to give us different reporting and analytics. And it all comes down to the business decision that is going to be made. And what happens if you end up on the wrong course? It's a bit like playing golf. If you end up 2-3 degrees off on the tee, you're going to be 50 degrees off and in the rough and really struggling to get to the flag or the point you want to achieve in terms of your business objectives of a year, 2 years, 5 years. So what are the typical challenges that we've seen? I've touched on some of them when we started, but really we've seen it comes down to trust. People want to be able to trust the data that is within their system for reporting, for analytics, for daily usage. And people just are fed up with the time it takes. It's not the task that people have been hired to do necessarily. It's a byproduct of their sales or marketing activity. So it's really quite a tedious task that is not easily overcome. There's a lot of time and money invested in CRM. I'm sure Andrew could speak about that in a minute. And people are just completely overwhelmed with GDPR compliance. They've got 50 million things to do, and they're really feeling powerless when it's new data is flowing into their ecosystem. It's hard enough managing what you've got already. It's even more difficult when you're constantly potentially polluting your ecosystem. And that breaks workflows, that breaks integrations, and then support desks get called up. And again, it's not your day-to-day task. And I don't know, Andrew, if you've seen things in the past around this.
Absolutely, yeah, multiple times. In the past kind of 15 years of working on projects like this, in particular, I was working on a very large project, multiple year project, and they were up against time towards the end of the project. It was late, it was overdue, it was costing a lot of money, and they took the decision to not clean their data up that they were importing from multiple different systems before they imported it into the new system. And they said, well, we can do that after we go live, because they were running late. Of course, nobody does that. Nobody wants to touch the data after it's been imported, when we're talking about millions of records here as well. And that really impacts the user adoption, because if an end user is looking up a customer, maybe they're on the phone to the customer, they do a search and they find 3 records. They're all the same person, but they've all come from different places and they've got different levels of completeness. How do they know which one to use? And so they just pick one, and then you're in this position of having poor data quality going into the system, already on top of existing poor data. And that lack of confidence in the data from the end user perspective means that they don't want to use the system, and then that usage drops off. And that's where you get all of that return on investment that you've invested into the project in the first place, that really dropping off. So it can have a massive impact on the adoption of your new system. I've seen that multiple times. It's always a frustration to have customers make those kinds of decisions. But I think fundamentally it's based on not appreciating the value of the data that they've got, and not knowing how to fix those problems.
I mean, I posed a question that's an interesting point you make around, if you had your system that you've implemented, it might be Dynamics 365, would you delete your business application and keep your data, or would you keep your data and delete your business application? Everyone I've spoken to since has said, no, I've got to keep my data. But there's a bit of a disparate in between the investment that's being made in data versus the business application. So
yeah, 100%. So you could spend $100,000, $200,000 or euros or pounds on implementing a new system, but spend nothing on the data quality that you're putting into that new system. So it's appreciating the value of those different things. And I completely get that.
Have you ever seen a scenario where organizations said, we've got to go to this system, we've got to go to that system, but actually the challenges were to do with the data, not necessarily the system design, whether that be system X, Y, or Z?
Yeah, 100%. I was working with a very large insurance company in the US, and they had a new CTO come in and who said, well, we've got to have a CRM system, and we're going to use this one. It's going to be Dynamics 365 across the United States and all their offices, when they're all working off spreadsheets and things like that. And it just ended up being this sort of mishmash of functionality, but also data quality drastically different between the offices, trying to sort of silo data so that they couldn't see each other's interactions, when actually one of the reasons you implement a CRM system is so that you can share information. So it becomes this massive kind of data problem, and you're really not getting that return on investment that you want from a CRM system.
100%, yeah. And looking at old business processes that are maybe going to hamper you in the future. Yeah, no, interesting. And we'll touch on more of those points, I think, a bit later. So again, what do people want? And we touched on that on the previous topic that we were speaking about. It's really a single version of the truth. So, people would speak around this. They talk about a single customer view. You've heard about single customer view, but not all data held in CRMs are customers. They could be prospects. They could be patients. They could be guests at a hotel. So really, you're looking for a single record view, because you don't know who you're looking at. It's industry agnostic, what people are looking for. And you want that single Andrew Bibby, that single Proximo 3, so that when everyone's logging into the system, they can trust that this is the Andrew Bibby I know we're working with, and you can trust that data.
100%. And I think that's where I've seen problems is lots of organizations want that single view of the customer, maybe bringing in data from other systems into that single view, but they don't have a way to combine that data together. So they don't have like a common key between records, for example. And so trying to match that information between systems becomes very, very difficult. I think some of the functionality you've got in the DQ platform can help with that.
I think that's probably a good point. If you're not aware of potentially the capabilities or limitations that some of these systems have in terms of managing the data, then it's hard to actually value, adding potential solutions like this too. So understanding what Dynamics has out of the box and leveraging that as much as possible is going to be great, because you're already paying for that. But, when the out of the box tools don't quite cut it, is really when we find that we're speaking to clients, and therefore we're working together. We've seen
100%. And the tools that you get with Dynamics 365 and Dataverse for things like data matching are very, very basic. They really haven't changed. Excuse me. They haven't changed in probably 12 years, the time that I've been working with the platforms. And that's where you very often need more intelligence, that sort of fuzzy matching, to be remotely useful in those sort of more scalable organizations.
Yeah, completely. Oh, well, I guess that probably segments then onto, where can we help, or where have we helped with other organizations? So we've created a suite of products because people have come to us, and it's mainly been kind of user led, in terms of product roadmap at times. With this is the challenge we face with Dynamics. This is the challenge with other systems, and we see it across the board. So we've created a set of solutions called DQ for Dynamics, Data Quality for Dynamics, that allows users to better manage their data and feel empowered when they're trying to manage their data, because a lot of organizations, going back to what I said earlier, feel powerless. They just haven't got the tools or capabilities, and it's just something that they don't want to tackle. So one of the modules we've created, and happy to speak about these in more detail at a later date, but the first module we've created is around capturing of data. So all users within the system can check data upon entry into the system. So whether that be an email or a telephone number, making sure that it is formatted correctly, making sure that it is actually a valid email, and making sure that maybe it will even ping, maybe it will deliver to an email address, or the telephone number will actually dial to the number that it says it will to actually dial. So simple tools to help users actually check data upon entry. And one of the other examples, sorry, Andrew.
If I could come in, this is an area that I see to be super, super important for maintaining that data quality, because you can spend all the time in the world getting your data, nicely sort of complete and deduplicated, but then over time it degrades because people are putting in bad data, and this is often missed. I think that that data sort of cleanse exercise is seen as a one-off thing. We do it once and then don't really address it going forward. But we'll talk about cleanse in a second. But this is very often, I think this is a vital part of maintaining high data quality, is validation up front.
Yeah. And it's something that you can empower all your users with, not just your admins. So difficult tasks that that employees face every single day, as an organization, you can be seen to actually helping out your employees to make their life easier.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we're capturing data. We maybe capturing addresses as well, address lookups, and formatting them back into the address block to standardize it. And we've actually seen a 10 times increase in the time it takes to input an address. So big time savings on that data input. Walking through then, again, a point you touched on was about cleansing of data. People do see it as a one-off task. It's not. It's something that is constantly evolving. Think of your data as like a living organism or a beast within your organization. And you've got to cleanse your data. So, are your emails formatted correctly? Are your telephones formatted correctly? Are your addresses formatted correctly? Where are they changing? Is there a change in the system that means that Andrew Bibby's email's been updated, telephone's been updated, and should we therefore go and ping and see whether that email will still deliver or a telephone number will still dial? And you can do that on trigger events so that you're being proactive in terms of your data management, so that on a daily basis, you are actually checking your data to actually understand its characteristics.
And again, this is where I've seen it be really important in those organizations that want to do things like click to dial, becoming much more important with things like Teams calling now. Is that you need to have good quality data in those phone numbers, and it's very common for users to type in, text and like extension 321 and things like that are not easily understandable by a phone system. So you need to have a standard format for your phone system or for your telephone numbers so that your phone system can understand them. Becoming much more common. I mean, it's been around for a long time, but lots of solutions out there now for that sort of telephony integration that mean that you need to have high quality phone data.
And those small 5 seconds, 10 seconds that it takes to fix a telephone number, if you times that by thousands, that's hours, that's days of time that
Absolutely.
is being lost. And you're not paying someone to format a telephone number when it can be automated. That they should be making calls, they should be emailing people, speaking and building relationships, much higher order tasks.
Good point.
So if we go on to then consolidation of data, we touched on it about we've got Andy, Andrew, Bibby with one B, Bibby with an I, because someone had no idea that Bibby spells his name with a Y on the end. So we've got different variants in the database, and we want a single consolidated view. So we want to be able to match records, find duplicate records, but when we find them, the most important thing is which Andrew, do we want to keep? Which is our master record, which is our golden record. And even when we've selected our golden record, doesn't necessarily mean that it's the best and it's ready to be updated back into the database. We need to take data from the duplicate records that might be golden. We might have Andrew's job title. We might have some preferences, and they need to be populated onto the master record, potentially automatically, so that we have governance and rules behind this before we can then merge these records, update Andrew Bibby as our golden record, and deactivate the duplicate records so that your users are only seeing a single trusted view in the system.
And I think this is something that I've seen time and time again, because again, Dynamics 365 and the Dataverse functionality is not very strong on things like matching by, like you said, different spellings of a first name, even basic things like that. Choosing master data and which record wins at scale across millions of records is a tough problem for most organizations. But when you've got a platform like DQ for Dynamics, it becomes that, just day-to-day operation. And that's super valuable. The alternative being that you try and build something yourself. And I've actually built this for customers in the past. It's cost them a lot of money, even to provide basic things like fuzzy matching when they're searching for customers and things like that. And you've got a platform here that's tried and trusted and has been around for a long time. Why wouldn't you look at a solution like DQ for Dynamics?
Yeah. I think the final point to touch on there is really the search capability. It goes without saying, on the relevant search, you might find Andy and Andrew. It's a very common variant. Robert and Bob being another common variant, and they will come back into the database. But when it gets a little bit more complicated and you need fuzzy logic or data transformations to find records, we've built over and above the relevant search so that you can go and find the James, Jimmy, Jim Bond in your database, and therefore actually make sure that you're finding the correct record when you're trying to work with that record. So it's a small module that we built because we felt that that was what users were crying out for. So it's something that we've added on. And we've made this stack super easy to install, configure, no code, low code completely. And it's a matter of minutes to get these solutions in, no custom builds because they've been tried and tested with other clients and built that way.
Awesome stuff.
Perfect. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about where you are as an organization in terms of your data quality journey. So there's a set of solutions there, and they range from quite simple tools at the front end to enterprise-wide tools. So I thought about different levels of data management. And if we look at the left-hand side, we've got the kind of blissfully unaware. I had no idea that data quality was even a thing. I have no rules. I'm in an Excel sheet, and there's no technology, no processes in place, blissfully unaware. And that's okay. It's just about an evolution of the organization as they flow up to, eventually an enterprise level organization. Everyone started in an Excel spreadsheet, a one-man band. You just grow, right? Proximo were there, DQ were there. We've all been there. So there's kind of a raising of an awareness in that level.
Can I challenge that a little bit? Actually, that
Sure.
with GDPR these days, organizations cannot afford to be unaware of things like data retention, and the fact that they have to remove data when they finish using it, that they need to control access to data to those people that need access to it rather than everybody having access to it. So there are serious penalties for these for breaching regulations these days. So unaware, and I absolutely agree that most customers I speak to are somewhere between that unaware period and that sort of reactive period, because they don't take their data quality very seriously. But particularly with these data protection rules, organizations can't afford to be in that place anymore.
100%. It's you get really heavily penalized, and we've heard it. It's been all over the news over the last few years, whether it's a bank or whether it's a small marketing agency. So we move up then to reactive. Okay, Andrew, as an organization, we're going to send out a marketing campaign. Ooh, has anyone looked at the data? No, should probably do that. Okay, how long is that going to take? Give us a month. Okay, well, the marketing campaign's now a month delayed, affecting sales. It's something where you only do it because you trigger. And I thought of this as kind of when my mum used to ask me to make my bed, I then do it. I never did it on a proactive basis. So there's maybe some process in place. It's an ad hoc thing. Maybe there's technology that you use on an ad hoc basis, but you're not, at that level where it's constantly being monitored. If we move up then to proactive, maybe an organization is looking at implementing technology on a regular basis to wash over their data, to ensure that there's a single customer view, to ensure that emails are being checked or data upon entry is being checked. So this is about a technology being in place and a process being in place. And it's just a level of maturity where you're then taking data quality seriously and you're willing to invest as an organization. And I think, Andrew, can you think of any examples where organizations have benefited out the back of this?
Yeah, I mean, it's an area that I see very, very few, even really large enterprise organizations taking very seriously. So get up to that sort of enterprise level. But when you are proactive with your data, that example that you gave there of marketing, you can't segment your customers properly without accurate, good quality data. Otherwise, you're just going to be spamming people with, that are not relevant to your campaigns and wasting money in doing that. And that's where we've worked with customers to improve their data quality, particularly around sort of marketing and segmentation. But it works across the board, right? Your sellers are going to be happier when they've got good quality data and the emails go through and the phone numbers work. And your marketing people are going to be happier because they can do their jobs. Their support people are going to be happier because they'll get fewer requests for issues and things like that. So yeah, super important.
And I see that the organizations who are really evolving in terms of taking this data quality thing seriously is where they're moving into kind of the continuous improvement. And I see that is, I likened it to you go to the gym and suddenly you lift some weights and you come out and you look like that Homer Simpson that was in the picture that we showed earlier. It doesn't just happen overnight. It's a constant iterative process, and actually you've got to go to the gym religiously. You've got to go and you've got to look at your data quality. You've got to look at how can we improve these processes, whether that be changing matching rules, changing your mastering rules around how you select your best record. Because no organization, if they set some rules in place or business strategy, is it going to be the same in 2 or 3 years' time? You've got to constantly evolve because your data ecosystem is evolving. So that's something that we see really organizations as they start to go from a proactive to a continuous improvement. They really start to see the benefits out of the tools and leverage and get the biggest ROI out of their investment. If we go then, the final level is kind of, I call it the Yoda level, where organizations, and this is typically where you see, data governance teams in places, or, actual someone dedicated to the role, where they're saying, let's look at this enterprise-wide. So we've got a accounting system, we've got a CRM system, we've got an ERP system. How are we going to govern the data across those systems? Now we're bringing in MDM, master data management. We're bringing in rules to maybe govern data across all of those ecosystems. So it's really that single trusted view across your organization so that you know what they're buying, when they're being shipped to, what's the relationship with that client. And it comes down to a term that we're using is KYC, know your customer, know your business, KYB. And that is truly the Yoda sense. I hope that analogy, relates with everyone. And that's where people are, hopefully aiming to get to, but it's really that evolution in those 5 different levels.
Yeah, and I think that's an important point for me, is that everybody's at a certain level of maturity. Every organization is at a certain level of maturity with the data management, but recognizing where you are and then planning for where you want to get to is the most important thing.
100%. You gotta know where you are, otherwise you're completely lost, and don't know where to start. So completely. So let's put this into the real world context, and hopefully put out some use cases that we've seen from some of our clients. We've actually worked with a client that merged 360,000 duplicate records in an automated fashion. And working back from how much time that would have taken if they did that manually, it would have cost £180,000. So they've saved that, not only in terms of the time that it would have taken them, it would have taken them 6 years to merge those records. They've actually saved £180,000 in full-time employment of a person to do that. And think of all of the potential reputational damage that they could have had, and how quickly they can now act on their data. It's almost instantaneous because the data is ready for the sales, marketing teams, and anyone calling out of the system. We've seen actually for a client, they had more business applications than they did employees in the business. Wow. So actually they were all working out of, it could be potential Excel sheets, or it was actually multiple. They had Salesforce, they had Dynamics, they had Zoho, HubSpot, all the systems. When they consolidated their data, they could see, oh, I didn't realize you dealt with Proximo as well. Shall we combine forces from different departments? And they saw a 30% increase in cross-sells. It's a massive uptake. If you could go to a sales director and say, I can increase your sales by 30% by combining your data, I think they'll bite your hand off.
You take that all day long. Yeah.
We've also seen a process with a bank that we've been working with. They had a very manual onboarding process. Proximo come, they apply for a bank account or a business loan. That then takes 7 to 10 days to turn around whether you're going to get approved or not. We have automated that process to say, yeah, we've already got Proximo. No, they're not doing any dodgy dealings. And yes, we can give them a bank account. And it was just such a smoother onboarding process that's come down to a matter of minutes now. And if they're not certain, yeah, they kick them out to the manual data steward team to review them because you're not sure. But now they're not swamped with requests and dealing with everything.
And massive return on investment there, because you're cutting a process taking days down to minutes. That's multiple people's time, multiple manual checks. Huge saving, I'd imagine.
And look at the reputation of the bank. They're now providing minutes to onboarding rather than days. So hopefully they'll attract more clients.
Great
as
customer
well.
experience, yeah.
Exactly. There was actually a story. It was about 5 or 6 years ago now. We actually saved their banking license. They were submitting to the Bank of England, and the Bank of England couldn't accept, non-printing characters, umlauts, circumflexes, and all of those non-ASCII characters. We actually gave them an audit trail of everything in their database that was non-ASCII, and they then got their banking license. So, there's some big challenges that organizations face that seem small but have a massive impact. Say that bank lost their banking license. Think of all the people banking with them. So some big ramifications downstream.
Massive. And what I've seen is mostly organizations just default to, okay, we'll just get a temp in to fix that problem. And that's just literally a temporary fix, because that problem then continues as people continue to enter data into the system. So again, it's not really taking the problem seriously. And one of the things I think stops organizations doing that is it's a hard problem, right? And this is where working with organizations or companies like DQ Global and really partnering with them for DQ to come in and say, this is what you need to do. Let's have a look at your data, and this is what you need to do. Just takes that stress and that effort. Really minimises that.
We talk about the map of the minefield. We've seen it before, and where not to tread, and it's the same with you guys at Proximo. You've seen it before. You've been there, and if that saves then 2 weeks of grappling with the data, hopefully that's value provided.
It's that experience that you're paying for. Yeah,
exactly, 100%. This was a use case that I did speak about just a second ago, so I'll just quickly glance over it. But these are merge tickets to the support desk over a period of time. And the business actually said, okay, we need to merge records in the system, but no one had merge rights apart from the support desk. So what happened to support tickets when they implemented this initiative in the business? Because they knew it was important. The merge tickets went through the roof. So that goes up to point number 2. They then reiterated how important it was. It went up to point number 3, where they saw a 600% increase in merge tickets.
Wow.
Support desk swamped. Do we hire another person? Do we hire 2 new people? The IT director came to us and said, we need to do this in a better way. And this is where they've actually implemented Decode Dynamics Consolidate to actually merge duplicate records. And they've actually merged 360,000 duplicates. And you can see the decrease in support tickets. And they've actually said to the support desk now, we have an automated process in place. Don't waste your time merging tickets. We know they'll be picked up by DQ.
So big savings in terms of FTE.
Massive.
Yeah.
So why are we addressing it? This is everything that we've spoken about. We want a single trusted view. I don't think anyone would argue that you cannot have 7 Andrew Bibbys in your system. We spoke about it earlier, the 30% increase on cross sells, a real world use case. I know we can say, yeah, it improves marketing and sales efforts. We've seen it. The stats are there. We know that stripping out dead wood in the system, old data, whether it's GDPR non-compliant, or whether it's just old and not useful to the business. Why are you housing it in Dataverse? It's expensive to store that in there. And really, we want people to be confident on that data. We touched on it about adoption in the system. We want users, when they log into a system, to actually trust the data that's in there. and say, yeah, I love this new system that's been implemented. Everyone's been working on really hard, and not to let the data let you down.
100% agree with all of those.
Not going to read through these because these are, everyone can read on this webinar. The only one I wanted to touch on, and these are points to take away for yourselves, and we'll send these out after the webinar, is some questions to take away and ask yourself. And one of the ones I wanted to highlight was this one here, which is how can we involve end users? Once the end users who see the day-to-day challenges with data quality get involved, that's when we see the biggest uplift and synergy between the IT team and the end users selecting the correct tools and techniques to put in place in order to overcome the challenges that organizations are facing. So that would be the one takeaway that I will just highlight on this slide.
Yeah, completely agree with that. It's the same with user adoption of a CRM system, for example. Once users can see the benefit to themselves, same with data quality, then they'll start to become engaged in the process.
Exactly. So to close up, any questions, more than welcome. I will just say that we, more than happy to speak to people, and we would we'd arrange a discovery call, is what we call it, is to really understand your challenges. We've heard a lot of them before, but everyone is unique. And if that just helps you to get some thoughts and for us to ask the right questions, then we're more than happy to do that and set you on your journey. Or equally, if these tools or solutions or working with Proximo is the right solution, again, we would love to work with you guys and speak to everyone. So thank you very much to Proximo for having us. It's been an interesting conversation that we've had many times offline, Andrew. So it's great to share it with everyone that's listening.
Thanks very much, Conor. Yeah, it's a common challenge for most organizations, data quality. Just to wrap up, if you do want to talk to us about your problems, either with data quality or the changes you can make to your Dynamics 365 or Power Platform solutions to help that data quality be better in the long term, we can facilitate that conversation with DQ as well. So please do get in touch. Head to our website, drop us an email, or give me a call directly on that number. And we'd be very happy to talk to you about those challenges and also have a discovery call with DQ to start looking at how you can address some of those challenges and what the cost might be. Thanks very much, everyone. Thanks for joining our webinar, and we'll see you next time.